Hello. Last time we talked about the disability tax credit, and today I will be discussing the RDSP. As we begin discussing information related to the RDSP, we will cover various financial topics. I want to clarify that the purpose of this video is to provide information, and it is not intended as professional advice on law, taxes, finance, or investments. The main content of the RDSP that I will introduce includes a general overview of the RDSP. Secondly, information on eligibility and how to open one, as well as how contributions are made. Thirdly, I will introduce how government support works. Fourth, I will talk about withdrawals. Fifth, how termination or closure works. And sixth, what is the best way to invest. Since the content is lengthy, the video about the RDSP will likely be divided into several parts. We have talked several times about a happy life and mentioned the 5 elements of life. We can talk about relationships, finances, home, and things like business, career or service, and personal decision-making authority. These 5 are the elements of a happy life that we have mentioned, and there are 2 pillars of this happy life, which, if divided, are as follows. One is social stability, meaning things like friends, social relationships, contribution, career or service are related to social stability. And there is also financial stability. Things like wills, trust, inheritance, insurance, savings, housing, and such jobs are related to financial stability. Today, I will talk about savings among these. First, I will talk about the simple history and background of RDSP. I wasn't directly involved at the time, but if you visit a site called rdsp.com, there is a very detailed introduction about RDSP. There you can see a video from when it first started, featuring Jim Flaherty, who was the Minister of Finance at the time, making an announcement. I looked at the content there and summarized it a bit. The day they announced the start of RDSP was December 1st, 2008. So we can say that RDSP started in 2008. Then there is an organization called PLAN, where I also served as a director for about 8 years. PLAN is an organization that has been around for over 30 years, known as PLAN, Lifetime Advocates Network. It helps with future planning and networking. During this time, the leadership realized that there was a lack of retirement funds for people with disabilities. And for several years, they have been requesting the federal government to introduce a system like RDSP. As a result of these efforts, Jim Flaherty, who was the Minister of Finance at the time, supported this initiative and finally helped it to start in 2008. In the video, it mentions that the government expenditure in 2008 and 2009 was about $1.4 billion, which is approximately 140 billion won in our currency. And then it was expected to be about $200 million annually, which is approximately 200 billion won in our currency. The RDSP is the first of its kind in the world and remains the only system of its kind not yet adopted by any other country. At the time, it was estimated that there would be about 500,000 beneficiaries in Canada, but as of 2023, according to the site, about 150,000 people are enrolled, and the enrollment rate in British Columbia is only about 37%. I'm also a bit puzzled as to why so many people aren't enrolling, but I believe that if you listen to what I'm about to say about why you should enroll in the RDSP, you'll probably understand. First, to briefly introduce what RDSP is, RDSP stands for Registered Disability Savings Plan in English. Anything that starts with registered is a program supported by the government. RSP is referred to as a retirement savings or retirement fund. When you see registered in front, like in registered retirement savings plan, it means it's supported by the government. So you can understand this as a government-supported savings plan for disabilities. The purpose is to provide financial stability for people with disabilities, especially for their retirement after the age of 60. And it is a program initiated by the Canadian federal government in 2008. In simple terms, if you save $1, the government provides matching funding in the form of grants or bonds, matching up to 3 times the amount saved. The most important thing here is that when we later receive the government support or the money we have saved, it is recognized as an asset or income, which can prevent us from receiving pensions or similar benefits in retirement. However, the most important aspect of the RDSP is that the amount received from the RDSP does not affect the disability assistance, which is the disability support provided by the government in BC. To explain the benefits of the RDSP in more detail, for RDSP beneficiaries, there is a matching fund that supports up to 3 times the contribution amount. There are mainly grants and bonds. Each year the grant matches up to $3,500 and the bond provides support up to $1,000. Over a lifetime, the grant provides up to $70,000 and the bond provides up to $20,000. So if you break this down annually, by contributing of $500 each year for 20 years, after 20 years, the maximum amount you can receive from the government is an additional $90,000. So the $20,000 comes from the bond and the $70,000 is provided through the grant. This amount grows with an annual interest rate of 6%. Assuming there is an investment return, after about 30 years, it can be considered a substantial amount of approximately $400,000. Let's compare this with other government support programs. As I mentioned earlier, the RDSP is a disability savings plan. The RESP is an education savings plan. The RRSP is a retirement savings plan. And another government-supported option is the TFSA, which is a tax-free savings account where investment income is not taxed. If you compare each of these in terms of incentives, the RDSP offers grants and bonds. The RESP also provides grants and bonds, although the amounts are smaller. Next, the RRSP is a system that allows for income deductions. And while the tax-free savings account doesn't offer specific incentives, it has the advantage of not taxing investment income. And now when you look at how the income from investments or savings is handled, RDS does not impose taxes while it is in the RDS account. But when you withdraw it from RDS later, taxes are imposed at that time. So this is called a tax default. The same applies to RESP or an RRSP. As I mentioned earlier, tax-free means it is not taxed. Therefore, when withdrawing from the RDSP, it is partially taxed. RESP is also partially taxed, while RRSP is fully taxable because contributions are made without paying taxes, and tax-free accounts are not taxed. The most important thing is whether there is an impact on government grants like the BC Disability Assistance. RDSP is not affected. But other accounts like RESP, RSP, and tax-free savings accounts do affect disability grants. So I will briefly show you a diagram comparing RDSP with other savings methods. Let's assume a deposit amount of $2,500 every year for 20 years and an interest rate of 6% annually, and then compare it with other accounts. As you can see in the diagram, for low-income RDSP holders, if they save over 20 years, they receive $70,000 in grants and $20,000 in bonds. The RDSP $60,000 scenario assumes that they receive the full $70,000 in grants, but do not qualify for the bonds due to higher income. The remaining RRSP assumes the same $30,000 in savings. In that case, for RDSP, low-income individuals would receive about $230,000. After 20 years, middle-income individuals, about $190,000. And if saved in an RRSP, it would be around $75,000. If you joined a TFSA, it would be $58,000. And in a regular account, it would be $47,000, showing a significant difference. We'll stop here for today. We will continue next time.